Hey everyone, this is Mayro. Welcome to another New Super Mario Bros. Wii modding video. For today's video, I've removed every single water level from New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Apologies for any lag in this video. Dolphin Emulator is being a bit weird with my computer for some reason. We're actually going to start things off by using Dolphin FreeCam to have a look down here, because as you can see on the world map, the ground doesn't actually extend all the way down to the sea floor. It just extends down to where the water would be and then stops. So we're going to be starting things off with 1-4, and you can see I've removed the water at the bottom of the screen, and you can see even though the water's still not there, the Cheep Cheeps are just swimming around in the air, and you can see the little air bubbles that they're trying to breathe. If we come into the water section, you can see that the urchins are also emitting these bubbles, despite there being no water. Now these air bubbles, they do actually push you down. If you look at my full speed here compared to when I do it in the bubbles, you can see they do push you down even when there's no water. And even stranger, the ones that push you up, you can also do this. So for this level, it's probably best to bring a propeller suit. You can also bring an ice flower or something and do some one-sided wall jumps. But I haven't played this game in quite a while. Getting this star coin is an absolute joke now because the bubbles don't really block your progress. And this bonus area is actually really interesting. So most enemies have been performing pretty normally under the water, but the spiny Cheep Cheep, they disappear as soon as they notice you. Speaking of which, I don't think I've seen any of the yellow Cheep Cheeps that normally appear in this level, so I guess they just don't spawn at all if there's no water. These guys just disappear. Now in 2-2, there's two small areas that can normally contain water. There's this area, which is where the mini mushroom first appears in the game. Removing the water doesn't really change much. I mean, you can run around down here now. We also have this area inside the mini pipe, and this is where the third star coin is. This P-switch doesn't really do anything for the level design though. Again, it's just coins that don't really mean anything. 2-3 has an underground section, which has some interesting water behavior. So these ice blocks normally look like they're floating on the water, but you can see they're not actually affected by the water at all. It's just an illusion and they're moving across a path. That being said, at this point, there's a bunch of them that generate from one spot. And without the water, they don't generate anymore. So I guess sometimes they're affected by water and sometimes they're not. We can make it across the first gap, and across the second gap, we can see a single ice cube being generated. So I guess what's happening is they're generating and then they're just sinking immediately because there's no water keeping them afloat. And then this one, because it's not part of a generator, it can just float up and down in the air like nothing's happening. When I remove the water from World 1, you could see the yellow sand underneath. But what do you think is going to happen when we remove the water from World 4? Why, we get blue sand. Why the sand is blue is beyond me, but it is blue. 4-1 is pretty basic. It's pretty much just what you'd expect. There's nothing particularly new that we haven't seen before, but it's still cool running around it without the water. One thing I don't think we've seen yet though are the big urchins, and they work pretty much exactly the same as the small urchins. They can just float there. They make their bubbles despite not being under the water. I like the big urchins. I hope they get into Mario Maker. 4-1 also has this little secret area. It's not really any different from the one in 1-4. It's just a little bit more dangerous. Oh, you can actually hit him. I didn't think he'd stay spawned long enough for that. In 4-2, again, you can see the Cheep Cheep swimming in the air. But the big thing about this level is that the barrels don't actually spawn. So the barrels are required to be on the water, otherwise you were just not going to be seeing them. 4-3 is just more of the stuff we've seen already. Apart from that guy who just randomly falls for no particular reason. I don't know what that has to do with the water, but there we are. And also, we can't really get in the mini pipe anymore because we can't run across the water to actually access it. 4-4 is just thrilling, really changes the gameplay so much. Now, 4-4 is a genuinely interesting level without any power-ups and without any water. It's actually pretty challenging. It's pretty much what Harder Super Mario Bros. Wii did, if you saw my videos on that series. I'm just gonna try and beat it without power-ups. Oh my god. Oh, that was actually really fun. In 4-5, there's normally a layer of water here, but I don't think you can even access it in the first place, so nobody really cares. But 4-Castle is pretty interesting. The main area is really a minor change with the water gone. It was mainly just a visual thing. But of course, there is a part that's fully underwater, and it also contains fish bones. Now, the fish bones, when they're underwater, they can't actually notice you, for whatever reason. There's also this lad up here, which, when he comes in contact with the wall, he just immediately shatters, which is kind of funny. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't able to remove the water from the Wendy boss fight. The way New Super Mario Bros. Wii modding works compared to Super Mario 3D World modding is very, very different. Whereas 3D World would have just like an area of water that you could just delete. Wendy's water is actually programmed into her fight, and I don't think I'd be able to do anything about that. At least not at my skill level. But this section is actually pretty hard now, because, I mean, what are we meant to do? Now it's time for everyone's favorite level in the game, 4-Cannon. Nothing has changed in terms of gameplay at all. Now in 5-1, there's a small amount of water, and this actually changes the level a lot more than I thought it would. So normally in this level, there's a bunch of river piranha plants that sit on the water, but when the water's gone, they just don't spawn at all. You can also get into this little shell house, even with the water gone, which is quite nice. Unfortunately, with no water, it means we can't do the skip here anymore, so we have to actually use the raft. As for this top area, we can run around on the pipe down here. Again, there's no river piranha plant. Next up is 5-Ghost House, and yes, there is actually a small section with water in here. I don't remember which door it is though. Not that one. Most of the level layouts I have memorized in my head by now, but the ghost houses, I still get lost in them. Who actually likes playing the ghost houses? All that exploring to see pretty much nothing that we haven't seen already. It is cool to see the fish bones with their glowy eyes. That had nothing to do with the water though, so I don't really care. The World 6 map normally has a little bit of water. Removing it, this kind of makes a blue void. Now 6-2 is yet another level in which there's normally water at the bottom, but you probably didn't remember that, and seeing it without water just feels completely normal, and as if nothing was changed. Oh hey look, it's the only thing that really means anything. Now you can fall down here. Kind of. In 6-3, normally you hit these switches to make the water come up, and now they just don't do anything. You can still hear the music. They didn't do anything though. God, this video seemed a lot better in my head. With 6-5, normally the height of the water changes depending on where you are in the level, and there's a Porcupuffer running around. But this time, of course, Porcupuffer is nowhere to be seen, because he can only spawn on the top layer of water. Cool level, by the way. The giant question mark blocks also don't spawn, so to get the secret exit, you have to actually go at it with the propeller like this. The little ledges on the side make it almost seem intentional. Okay, 6-6 is actually really interesting. So you know how there's this raft that moves up and down because it like floats on the surface of the water? Look, you can even see the water particles. See, it's obviously meant to be floating on the water. I'm not kidding when I say this. The water is controlled by the raft. Now removing the water doesn't mean anything. The raft can still thrive. When the raft goes up and down, the water just follows it. This is so dumb, dude. Now 7-2 doesn't explicitly have any water in it, but there are these water bubbles, and they let you swim in them, so even though it's not like the water object, I thought I'd remove them anyway. I didn't expect it to really have an interesting side effect, but it actually does. So any coins that are normally in bubbles, for some reason you just can't collect them if you're not swimming. Why? Now for 8-4, I had to make a couple of additional changes to make it possible. So I added this block here because since you can normally enter pipes underwater without there having to be a block underneath, so I added a block and hopefully we can just kind of lob this at the block. I haven't tested this. Yes, finally! Oh my god. Now we're in here, we can see I think they're called bulbas. The bulbas can swim about, making their air bubbles as normal. I can't see where the ground is, so this will be fun, I guess. Oh no. Combined with the dark, that's just really difficult, but I think it should be fine if I just go up where the spikes are. And now we have the jelly beams, I think the name is, and it looks like they behave as normal. God, I hate dark levels. Finally, we have this section where there's a bunch of bubbles that push us upwards. Haven't tried this, haven't tested it. Let's see if I can do it, I guess. Not at this rate. Ah! Okay, finally we have 9-2, and what a surprise that nothing interesting in this level. That being said, thanks for checking out this video. It was cool doing a little bit of Mario Wii again. I'm not too interested in coming back to this game like I used to, but I do have some interesting ideas, so stick around, I guess. Subscribe to me. Thanks.